All right, Tempo Storm with the choice now, a first pick or Battleground. We know Tempo Storm in the past has like Dragonshire, but so does GenG. Are we expecting then that maybe they shake up? We saw them pick Towers of Doom earlier.
Yeah, I would expect them to go with the towers just based on that, because taking Dragonshire against GenG, and more importantly, the fact that they're still willing to play the hammer, and clearly that counters a lot of some of the thought processes North America has generated lately. I would avoid Dragonshire at all costs.
Hammer does change up Towers of Doom, though, too, and the thought process
yeah.
beyond that. Where are we going, though? As we get the Battleground pool popping up, let's find out. Cursed Hollow picked by Tempo Storm, another place where sometimes they'll play Greymane.
And talking about that Greymane, I personally, I have a grudge against that strategy just in general. I'm not going to lie, I've never really been able to believe in that off-lane pressure all the time, because it always comes down to one answer, and that is, can you actually win the fight? Because rarely are you so oppressive from a macro front that you can win the game right out. I think Team Freedom is a team that if you've ever been a fan of them, you see how often that can be a backhanded kind of composition. Cursed Hollow is a Battleground. We could still see that, and I think, I hope for Tempo Storm here that they avoid that strategy.
I still feel like the double support style with that much of a blow-up pressure that Tempo Storm had could have been way more successful, and I feel against a lesser team than GenG, they would have been way more competitive with that setup, way more than I actually expected, I have to admit, because they had a couple of opportunities where the fight could have gone their way, and then you can really try and get that snowball going, which they were aiming for in the first place. Now with Cursed, of course, we're looking once again at also macro heroes, and Abathur being banned out immediately. Question for me personally is if the Haka is going to make an appearance here.
Maybe for Tempo Storm, Glau played a fair amount. I'm trying to think how much Kyocha. Kyocha has not played Dahaka at all, part 2, but has in the past.
Yeah, I mean, he played some fantastic Dahaka play like a while ago, but still like a huge hero to be played here. A Tempo Storm goes immediately in another aggressive setup around that Greymane that you just mentioned.
At this point, if I am GenG, I go boss control is a big fear. Tyranda's good into that, but in the Greymane offlane approach, the one thing you want to make sure you don't ever have is them winning with the macro, and that buys them free boss time, because that leads to a double boss and you're already losing on the macro front. So if you can make sure you don't lose the bosses, have a dominant team fight, stop the bleeding out of the macro. Things like Hanzo might be something that they look towards. They don't end up committing into it here. More standard here when it comes to GenG and some of the priorities that they have had in the past. But overall, just making sure that they don't get dominated on the boss is one of the biggest don't-haves here in this type of situation.
I mean, GenG is actually the team that has played a ton of Anubarak, and they usually pair it mostly with Urel and try to get like that heavy engage and getting the extra armor through Urel to keep Anubarak alive, especially if he engages in, maybe doesn't quite connect with the stun, and then sometimes has problems. But with that, Li Ming has to be another concern. You see us so often as an immediate counter on the other side against Cocoon, and I'm curious to see if GenG is going to pick that up at the back end of the draft for that particular reason.
If they do end up going the Li Ming route, like, it has insane one-shot capabilities, and as you said, it's a really good counter to the Cocoon, but I do feel like it hurts so much on a macro front where Tempo is clearly already shown that that is the focus of this game, that I wonder, is that even a big enough setback that a team as good as GenG would actually struggle into it? And for my brain, at least, it sits at that threshold where I go, though it is maybe the best towards what GenG has shown in the past, I would avoid it just because I think that's one of the only ways I allow Tempo Storm to get the upper hand.
What do you think for the offlane here? I mean, traditionally, personally, I really like the Urel more so than anything else with the Anubarak, but Blaze could also be played by them.
Lucio!
And that's a pick that every single time I see that in North America, I'm asking myself, why? Maybe you can shed some light on that.
Just
I still don't know.
It was just June, and it's mainly in this type of situation. I have the Anubarak. He's going to generate the beetles when I'm diving onto your keep. Greymane is going to be the one who goes into Worgen form, gets the damage out, and Lucio is the man who saves the day with the Amp It Up on our way out of there, right? He's going to scoot with the Accelerando. Void Prison is there to ensure that you stop the retreat or the advance, or you have a good stall in the downtime while everybody else is split pushing. But in all cases, I'm still going to label a fat I have a hard time supporting this. And last but not least, if you needed more globals, macro pressure, and diving towards your keep, we have Glau moving on the Illidan.
I was gonna say, is that a Glau Zeratul or is that a Fan Zeratul? I was thinking it was gonna be Fan Zeratul and Illidan and Greymane. Actually, with Greymane, I guess maybe Vin playing that. Who knows with that? They're all pretty flexible. But the boss control comes in. We see Hanzo and Urel.
And that's the biggest thing I want to talk about is I think that was a huge recovery point for this draft. Having the Hanzo for GenG, they can two-man threaten while they're still zoning off Tempo Storm and their split siege.
But you have with that, if you're Tempo Storm, you have to play around them all the time, right?
For a large majority of the game, I would argue, yeah. Hey, it's one of those, if you find a way to get the upper hand, you can suddenly be the bully of the game, but if you don't, then it's a little bit on the back foot, yeah.
But the second you fall behind and when you're taking any 5 fights, you are in a huge amount of trouble. I mean, Nubarak alone has a lot of problems if he doesn't have any support that can burst heal.
Yeah.
You have only Lucio for that, so it seems that everything is just designed to rotate around them with a hunt on top for the pseudo global on Illidan as well. So they're playing fire here.
You know, Hugo got a win over a Korean team with Illidan. Maybe Tempo Storm can do the same. Let's find out as we head back over to the casters.
Wolf and I think, spent the last like 2 minutes just like, are you seeing this? Like, this is Tempo Storm, and they're like, look, if it didn't work the first time, we're going to try something different. This is a very different strategy for Tempo and a very traditional strategy for GenG.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of going to be the story of North America versus non-North America regions across the board. Is a standard meta with heroes that are comfortable for these stronger, historically speaking, stronger regions, and then North America throwing darts at the board, and that's what it looks like to their opponents, right? GenG looks at this going like, okay, this is a little bit weird. I think a lot of people are watching this going, this is weird. They're not actually throwing darts at a board. They have a plan here. They have a strategy. It's tough to suss it out sometimes. I mean, June played a lot of Lucio more than anyone else, as the desk already highlighted. There's not a lot of crowd control to deal with the Lucio, so you don't feel you know, that the lack of a cleanse is a problem through the mid game. But what I'm concerned about is it's a very dive-centric comp, and Tyranda's on the other side. So sometimes when you feel like, okay, I'll just get in there and kill the backline, I'll kill Hanzo, will kill Tyrande. She just Hunter marks you. Hanzo turns around and starts auto-attacking you, and you actually die before you kill anyone because there's just so much damage potential on the side of GenG.
Well, here's a heavy dive approach. This is very North American style. Spawn some beetles, use the gray main, get some early damage in. Nobody anchoring just yet, but there's the movement speed Dread talked about. But I think Kaldor brought up a very good point about how Tempo Storm essentially needs to play around GenG. They don't want to play into GenG until they get to the later stages of the game. But GenG is so good about never letting you get ahead. So we'll see how Tempo Storm does that. We'll see the rotation over to the siege camp early. But most notably, this is very Honkono-esque because we have unending hatred on the Illidan to make sure and stack up and get that extra auto attack damage over time.
I think that's one of the reasons why I think that is done. One of the reasons why I think that is the choice here, as I struggle to speak, is to guarantee that as the game goes longer, you don't lose that power. If GenG stabilizes, you know, you always feel like does Illidan scale well into the late game? It's tough, but my concern is kind of along the lines of what the desk was saying is Tempo Storm, I think, needs to, at minimum, be even with GenG when 10 gets hit. Like, they cannot be playing from behind or this comp will totally fall flat on its face. And we've already seen that the, you know, this early games, experience-wise, has not gone Tempo Storm's way because they went for that 4-man rotation.
Well, somebody stole your sign out there. Marry me, Rich?
Yeah, I've been asking him for a while now. He said he's married to heroes, so.
Well, right now we're going to see both teams focus on their night camps, and this is something where a gray main composition with the Anubrek can push down that mid lane. The scary part is with the Garrosh on the other side, is that you better position yourself very well because that could be a threat. Instead, we'll actually see the rotation up to the top lane, Cattle and Ben. The minute that jump goes in, Kyocha now becomes a target. There's going to be the double stun. Kyocha with a knockback should be able to survive this assault as he has the jump. We'll get over to safety for now.
Yeah, you know, what looks like for a moment a mental lapse in judgment for Kyocha is actually just a moment of him being fine. They had vision the entire time that Tempo Storm had missing heroes, so he knew that they were rotating up. He didn't know necessarily it was going to be that exact moment after the jump, but Tempo Storm's actually do a smart thing here. They fail a gank, but they convert that into at least a cannon tower, so they lost experience on the rotation. It was actually somewhat made up for here, so I do like that a lot. The tribute is going to be top center, and that's actually really nice for GenG right now because of the setup they have in lanes where Raynor is actually in the bottom lane and is getting extra soak and then can easily, safely rotate up. You see he's taking the left side approach on the minimap there so he doesn't get caught. There's no vision of Lucio, Greymane, and Anubarak on the map.
That's such a great sentinel. It actually just scouted out that Greymane and team were going bottom, so that will get vision, and there's no wormhole yet at level 7 to allow you to get in and get out and maybe stall one of these. You can get a singularity spike in, and that's pretty much it to buy time for this team. He doesn't end up getting much in there. But this is the rotation down, and with that Sentinel, it scouted them out. Tempo Storm trying to get an advantage here, but June will boost everybody out and get the movement speed, and retreat. So 2 games in a row now, Tempo Storm trying their hand at out-macroing GenG. So far, early game, not too much.
And I feel like it really worked against Ballistics at Midseason Brawl, but against GenG here, it's just unfortunately not finding that same level of success. And this is all about vision. And the Sentinel went at an educated guess towards where they thought Tempo Storm would be, and it was the question was asked by Reset, you know, on the Rainer. Are they coming to get me? Can I stay here? How greedy can I be? They verify with the Sentinel and then rotate down faster, and Tempo Storm is just grasping at straws. It's conceptually really good, but it relies on your opponent just not having that vision. And GenG's so good at making these judgment calls, sending these Sentinels. And once again, Koja finds himself the gank victim, but he has his jump, and this ends up being failed gank after failed gank for Tempo Storm.
I think June was anticipating maybe a quick jump there, using your trait, getting the instant jump ability. Instead, he got the pushback, but the jump is available shortly after allowing Kyocha to get out of danger. We see the tribute being spawned without contest, so that will be picked up. 2 tributes now. We also have to keep in mind 30 seconds from now is when these bosses will spawn, and you have boss potential on both sides. The scatter arrow from Hanzo, Tempo Storm with the Greymane, with the Illidan. Either one of those can really burst that down with a little bit of support.
2v3, GenG is totally wrecking Tempo up here in the top lane. It took them so long to get that cannon tower. Meanwhile, the bottom is being dove on. They're basically proxying minions in between forts here. They're going to get the bottom fort. They're going to get this tribute, or they have gotten the tribute. Rich does go down here at the end of the day, but this is such a nice setup for GenG following this up, because they have Curse Point, 30 seconds, and Rich will be up long before then. And they have this experience lead.
Tempo's actually really lucky because the tribute could have spawned on the top right or the bottom right. And with that bottom lane being pushed down already, had that tribute gone over to GenG and Tempo Storm stayed up here, that's a curse plus a boss with no fort in the way. That could have been very, very difficult for Tempo Storm. Instead, they get a fort down in the top lane. They got the kill onto Rich, the first of the game, and now this will be on a favorable sign for Tempo Storm to try and get back into this game as Tist moves forward.
Yep, they had a positional disadvantage, but because it's on their side of the map, I mean in terms of proximity to the tribute, but because it's on red side, they are able to get here and push GenG away, but GenG is definitely going to contest this. Without 10, Illidan cannot hunt in those. This is very risky what Tempo Storm is doing without him. They're trying to delay, but it's just, there's not enough time here to actually get that hunt available and then come and contest this. As much as they want to try to delay, it's just not realistic. It should be a curse.
Fan has Wormhole, so he'll go in, get 1 extra, but now that Tist walks by, or Reset walks by, it's much more difficult. There's going to be the blink out. Reset and team, they're going to start tracking him down. Fan is there. There's going to be the reveal.
He's revealed.
He needs that blink very quickly. The Singularity Spike will get the slow and the dismount. It might give enough time for Fan to get out of there. Very nicely played there. Got that Singularity Spike just around the minion and bought him his extra life there, because that was a dead Zeratul if he didn't land that.
Yeah, that was well played. But the bigger picture here is that GenG now has 10. They do have this curse, and right after this, if they get any kills, both bosses are available, so that's terrifying. So Tempo Storm kind of has to play on the back foot. And if you look at this lineup, outside of Greymane, and it's not even great, but outside of Greymane, there is almost no poking siege to prevent these pushes. So GenG is going to get massive value out of this curse. If you try to commit to an engage, dive on them to stop them, because their comp is dive-oriented, and fail, you're going to lose bosses. Meanwhile, he's going to try to...
I don't know where they got vision. There's no way. Glaurung's going to get assaulted here. There's no way he lives in this situation. I'm just trying to figure out, did Glaurung step out of that right into the minions? Did he do it long ago? Because that was a raw Dragon's Arrow that snipped him out. Glaurung, you gotta see some of these coming. I don't know what happened, but that was such an amazing play. And as you mentioned, as the tail end of this curse, this is gonna be teams making their way towards these bosses. I think Tempo Storm, they're gonna make a play also for that siege camp. See if GenG responds to that or tries to push with their own.
Yeah, I mean, this is a consolation prize after that, which is what is probably like the 3rd or 4th time Glaurung's died in the off lane in day 1 here. A small little way to try to catch up in terms of these advantages. The problem is if you want to get value out of this top push, you have to leave GenG as boss, which is going directly to the keep wall. GenG has ways to engage. The arrow's going to be up in 6 seconds. This could actually cost you super big if it fails.
It's high risk, high reward. They're going in here, Wolf. They've got 1 Siege Giant left. They've got the Anubarak with the Greymane going in.
Yeah.
They'll be able to defend if they choose, but Kyocha goes in, gets the knockback. Boss still somewhat healthy. In comes the Dragon's Arrow.
They're actually going to commit to the hunt here as well. On the reset, this is so disjointed. Sound Barrier is going to help keep them alive, but I don't think they can win this fight. There's no way. And already, Fan is dead. And this is Glaurung just trying to split push down this keep by himself. The rest of his team is leaving, and once again, he will die alone. There's no way out of this one as the stun will connect there. The Lunar Flare. Keep is saved. Boss goes down in the bot lane. It doesn't do much more damage, but look at the minion wave down there. I mean, that's something that will have to be cleaned up by Anubrak and Lucio, as we do see Greymane actually clearing mid at the moment. So this is... I think I don't want to understate this. This is a bad situation for Tempo Storm. They got nothing that they wanted out of that top push.
Well, there is one thing, though, is 3.5 minutes from now. Watch the timer at the top. 12.5 minutes is when the boss, both of them essentially, will be respawning because they picked them up around the same time.
Yeah.
So when you see that timer and you see the movements of the team on the minimap, it will be around boss plays because you have a Greymane, you have an Illidan. If they get to 16 and you get marked for Illidan, which does that bonus damage on your dive, and the Greymane, who went Wizened Duelist and hasn't dropped stacks, only 5, but still, that amount of damage plus a boss, they're playing for a 5-minute rotation. The next 3 tributes, even if they go over the next 2, they should have 16 conceivably by then, as well as that boss rotation. So the way Tempo Storm, unless they suffer losses over the next little while, they should be able to get this. They're actually going to commit to this keep now with the Anubrak and Greymane.
And they just showed themselves in the Watchtower as well. Now they'll get this keep. It looks like, or perhaps not, stun comes through. They can't actually get it. Now Vin aggroed by the keep. He's slowed. This 2-man Hearth coming home is chasing them away. They did actually have to commit the cocoon as well. So this could have been much worse for Tempo Storm. Nice disengage, but a quick reaction from GenG.
Well, this is Glaurung stacking up. Does have the unending hatred baseline there. Kyocha, he's going to be able to dodge that coming in, but the hunt comes in. That's a very interesting play there. If they have minions there, they dive right under. But now Tiston team, they're coming over. And somebody is invisible. He's going to join this fight. And Fan and team, they might not get out. There's going to be the taunt. There's going to be the track down. That's kill number 1 on Zeratul. Glaurung trying to see himself out. Stage left. See if he can make his way out of here. That will be dismounted by the minions. Nice scatter arrow there to just chunk that health down.
I mean, he's going to live a little bit longer here, which will buy some time for the respawn of Zeratul, but it's still a pretty rough situation here. Again, objective failed, mission failed in the bot lane, but up here in top, they did get this keep down, so that's going to be macro pressure. My concern is now, though, with Glaurung dead and a pretty normal, neutral, I should say, tribute spawn, how do you prevent GenG here? They're going to grab this, they're going to be on curse point again, and if you make just one more mistake after that, the game is GenG's. It's a 2-0 end to this best of 2.
Wolf, it might actually be one mistake too many. Here comes the Dragon Arrow, 4-man Dragon Arrow. It comes Kyocha with the knockback. The cocoon will allow them to grab this camp here. They do have the spell armor, allows them to disengage, but they used everything. We are now 1 minute away from that boss spawning at the top right. That is the win condition for Tempo Storm, but GenG with the lead might be able to get 16 and force the fight in the meantime. So this is a very tricky time for both teams because it's been chaotic.
Yeah.
And Tempo Storm it's the game that they want to play.
And literally, had that sound barrier not gone off, we'd be watching GenG attack at a keep and ending the core right now. If everyone died in that fight, there would just be no recourse. They're trying to get this extra experience here from this fort to tie up the 16-16. But it's a GenG favored tribute in 20 seconds for Curse. No one can die right now. And if GenG collapses on that bot lane, I don't know if Tempo Storm is going to be able to come out with a favorable fight there.
That boss is spawning. And they have a Hanzo. That is the scariest thing, is you want this experience. You want 16, but you better hightail it out of here instantly unless you're full committing, because that boss... Look, normally this is a good call because you're trading out and you're saying, look, I get it. You're going to get the boss. I'm going to put some damage on. The problem is that's a Hanzo on the other side. Hanzo's race potential, it speeds up the process. You cannot stick around there that long. Glaurung will sniff it out, see that it's there. So that win condition no longer there for Tempo Storm. Glaurung has to be very careful with the vision. And now Tempo Storm, they're going to trade out, see if they can get to the boss.
Oh,
the Dragon Arrow. Here it comes.
It's going to be a massive stun. They dodge it. So that's huge, but it went directly to the tribute, which delayed any potential channels. So now the boss is pushing. Tempo Storm has to make tough decisions here. We do see Glaurung is split pushing top, heading towards that core, setting up for catapults to hit the core, but he's a long, long way away from what's relevant here. Vin scouted out. He's in trouble, instantly deleted. That's the Hanzo damage. That scatter arrow right there. And now Curse, boss, that keep isn't firing. this feels like the names are about to be etched into Tempo Storm's tombstone.
Yeah, this is normally one of those situations. Look, if you're playing casual, you say, look, don't get boss. Like, we've got to push this down. But the Hanzo just rips this apart, and that's why the boss falling so quickly, and you still have 50 seconds now. And if you're Tempo Storm, you have to be okay with losing the keep. You have to be able to fight in this. You cannot just soft defend this. This boss will push down. They do have the capability between an Anub'arak and an Illidan to dive behind this and isolate a person with Void Prison. Greymane coming back up. This might be the last stand here for Tempo Storm as GenG moving down the spot lane. Curse plus boss.
If they can somehow win a team fight here, then they can come back in this game, but it has to be a decisive victory. We're going to see the Cocoon committed here early. Triple stun to try to buy time. Glowering is engaging hard on the backline, but it's not enough. Huge stun coming out from Kyocha, and now the taunt is real. June, no way out. It's 2 kills already. The Void is just a second too late, and this keep isn't even firing. They can go deep. Kyocha going to go ahead and activate his absorb here, and this looks like the beginning of the end.
Cattle falls, 3 members down on the side of Tempo Storm. The boss still healthy enough if they go through the keep. Only a Greymane and an Illidan. Illidan already going the other direction, but with this boss as healthy as it is, this is going to be GenG securing a 2-0 over Tempo Storm in what was a chaotic series the way Tempo Storm played.
And GenG is just running old meta. We've seen this type of play throughout 2018. Of course, the exception in this game being the Tyrande, which was recently reworked. But GenG is just playing their game. It's the Korean meta that we are seeing that has now given them a 4-0 in the group. 2 wins against China, 2 wins against North America. They have been tested by metas that they're not familiar with. They've been tested by metas they don't see in Korea. And both times they're able to go back to comfort and make it work. And that's scary because we still don't really know who's going to be the first team to push GenG to the edge. And if no one can do that in the group stage, they've got all those hidden strategies for playoffs for the round of 8.
There's so much to look forward to with the group stage and everything that we have. Tempo Storm, we thought maybe would come in packing a punch. They came in with a strategy, didn't work out. But to break down this strategy more is going to be Gillyweed and team back at the desk.
Thank you guys. GenG gets another perfect series on the board, not losing a game to Tempo Storm, despite Tempo Storm bringing in some very unorthodox strategies.
I'm really torn because, I mean, we talked during the draft already, okay, they can't fight. They have to play around them the entire time, and that's what they did. But it depends on how they approach this, because if you look at this and say, okay, we go up against GenG, they are the best team in the world right now, and if we're going toe-to-toe to them and try to match them in mechanics, we're going to lose this game. We're just not as good as they are. If that's their thought going into it, then I have no problem with them trying a completely weird strategy like this one. Because as much as that may not have worked out against GenG, if you play this against another team,
right,
it's dangerous. You mess up once and you're behind. So I really don't hate it. I don't think it's really showing the most confident in their general standard gameplay. But I like that they have a strategy like this that they can pull out and against a team that is weaker than GenG, that doesn't react as perfectly to every single rotation. You can definitely catch them in a moment of guard and then win the game out of it.
Well, that was going to be my question to you, because Dread, you commentated North America when they really started to push the bounds of what we know from Heroes of the Storm. Do you feel like this was an expected loss for them, and that because of that they might have adjusted strategies, they might be not showing everything, they might be it might be something that's going to work versus a team that's not as skilled as GenG, which currently we don't really know if anyone is as skilled as them?
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell until we see them move forward here into the tournament. But the biggest thing with Tempo Storm here, and knowing that they're going with the Greymane off-lane pressure, this is something that multiple teams in North America are comfortable doing and think that it is a viable strategy, get that out macro pressure. I think it's just them going, I hope it's them going, we don't want to show everything and some of the things we're working on. We think this is good. We think that GenG has not seen this, that it'll catch them off guard, and that we're good enough at it that it will get a win. But with the level of confidence we've gotten out of Tempo Storm, and I know I have a grudge against the strategy in general because it's failure typically to be able to win a fight, but like just seeing that being brought out here, for me, I look at this and I go, I think it's going to be a problem, you know, if they don't have more things in this.
Yeah. Like, for me personally, it was like you could have executed a bit better. We saw Glowron caught an Illidan, maybe by the arrow, for example, things like that. That's kills. You can't really fault him for that, but it's avoidable when you play it a little bit differently, a bit more passive. And in the late game, as we said, once you have to go into fights because a boss is marching towards your keep, you have to take that fight, and you can't win it because you just have no sustain there.
Right.
You get caught and you're immediately dead. But having a strategy like this in your arsenal, I like that aspect of it. So that's cool because you can always throw a bit of a curveball.
Yeah, and you do need to be unexpected because it did feel like in that instance, in a couple other instances, GenG read Tempo Storm like a book. They knew what needed to happen for Tempo Storm, and it was just about final points.
Yeah, and the last thing is I think in the future, if Tempo wants to run that, especially on Curse, they have to ban Zahanzo. The vision control, the initiation, half the reason that game was so oppressive is because the Dragon's Arrow that went on bottom to Illidan, because Galarang showed in one shrub, made sure that even if he was starting his back, it's as slow as possible to get the interrupt as late as possible. And it's those kind of things in the blind initiation around night camps that make that impossible, and that's not even considering the boss control, which is the biggest counter to that style of strategy.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. Up next, Miracle goes up against the best from China, BTG. Stay tuned.
Gets right back in, but gets knocked into that wall. There's going to be the slow, the stun. That's going to be the follow-up. This is a very tanky Diablo. Curse bullet used instantly. You can see the Scarlet Aegis used in return, but the Lightning Breath, here it comes. And right now, D-Shield onto that Greymane, trying to get the takedown. We get the takedown on Jaina. And right now, Tist somehow able to survive.
He's surviving.
Is committing, but they are falling apart as Tempo Storm.
They just tried to focus him down while he was in Lightning Breath, but it doesn't matter because the Whitemane healing is too much. Rich arrives, does too much extra damage here.
The core starting to fall.
This is so GenG. Almost no other team will take a risk like this at this stage, but GenG will. Divine Shield just comes up. They're going to commit to it, having Fan in there, but the bunker denies most of the damage. Glaurung now caught here. Sub-cleanse is not enough to save him, and Cattle pushed away here. Tough to be in position to grab a stun. Rich is working on that core. There's too much damage here. Once again, Scarlet Aegis stun comes in from Kocha, and it looks like that's going to be a kill on Cattle, or excuse me, on Fan.
That's 2-3 members down. The Ghost of Uther will heal up, but now 60% and falling. This should be GenG. Plus boss.
If they can somehow win a team fight here, then they can come back in this game, but it has to be a decisive victory. We're going to see the Cocoon committed here early. Triple stun to try to buy time. Glaurung is engaging hard on the backline, but it's not enough. Huge stun coming out from Kocha, and now the taunt is real. June, no way out. It's 2 kills already. The Void is just a second too late, and this keep isn't even firing. They can go deep. Kocha going to go ahead and activate his Absorb here, and this looks like the beginning of the end.
Cattle falls, 3 members down on the side of Tempo Storm. The boss still healthy enough if they go.
The 2018 HGC Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Corsair, T-Mobile, Samsung SSD, and NVIDIA.
The Heroes of the Storm Global Championship is back. By watching and cheering with bits on Twitch, you can unlock new chat emotes and exclusive in-game items, all while supporting your favorite HGC teams. Bits are a virtual good you can buy on Twitch to cheer, celebrating amazing moments and amplifying your voice in chat. And during HGC, when you cheer for your favorite team, a share of the bits spent will go to that team. As you cheer, you can unlock loot chests, mounts, and exclusive emotes when personal and global cheering goals are met. There is more loot than ever, but as new community items are launched, the old ones will disappear. Get them all before they're gone for good. Right below the video player, you can track team-specific and global progress, check out your individual goals, and see leaderboards that highlight each team's total cheers and the top individual cheerers. To get started, buy some bits by clicking on the bits gems at the bottom of chat and selecting Get Bits. Then, when a team pulls off an amazing play, click on the bits gem in chat, select the team logo, add the number of bits you want to use, plus a message to cheer them on. You'll summon a team-themed animated cheer mode to celebrate the moment loud and proud in chat. The more bits you use, the cooler and more animated the cheer mode. Want to share your love of the game with chat? If you cheer 1,000 or more bits at once, not only will you receive 2 loot chests, but you will also randomly share 8 or more loot chests with people watching with you. The larger the cheer, the more members in chat you will gift with a loot chest. And lastly, be sure to link your Blizzard and Twitch accounts to claim your loot. We'll see you in the Nexus.